I'm Guy from Seaking Boats, North Queensland, and today I'm going to do an in-depth review of our 770 and also refer to a few features of our popular 720. YouTube and Facebook followers has really blown up this year. I think we've gone from 3,000 subscribers on YouTube last year to 40,000 this year, and also our Facebook followers as well. So there's a lot of new followers, subscribers, customers out there that are asking a lot of questions that a lot of our older customers and followers already know. So for the sake of all our new subscribers, I'm going to go through a fair bit of detail. As I've said in the past videos quite extensively, I don't say it in every video, but we do not hide the fact that our hulls are made in China. We've done extensive research, we've done video walkthroughs, we go over the factory twice a year, so I won't dwell on that too much more. You can go back onto our YouTube channel and have a look at those factory reviews where I explain the whole processes and things like that. So when we're talking about our 720 and our 770, this boat was designed by us because we felt a need to have a boat like this for our application. So the 720 that we call a 720 because it's 7.2 meters overall. The Gospel factory refer to it as a 685. That boat there, we've over the years done, I think we're up to like 55 modifications to that hull. And some of those modifications we've shared with the factory and allowed them to on-sell and use to their individual customers. But some are just exclusive for us. We've had a few customers slip through the cracks where they've come and viewed our boats, and in order to save a few $1,000s have bought the boat direct from the factory, which is fine, but actually taken some of our modifications and added them onto their boat. It's no longer able to do that, and there are reasons for it. Every time we make a major structural change to a hull, the factory's overall CE certification certificate, which covers the factory for 5 years for every boat in that model made, is no longer relevant. So for example, one of the first modifications we did to the 720 years ago, we increased the fuselage from 240 litres to 350 litres. We did away with the kill tanks. Don't like them, they stink, and they don't hold ice in an aluminium boat. So we did away with those and redesigned under the waterline to accommodate a larger fuselage tank. So in doing so, we also increased the transom horsepower rating from 250 horsepower to 300 horsepower to accommodate for the extra weight. So when we did that, we also had another design change where we extended the rear deck, as you can see here on our 770. So we did the testing, we made sure it was going to work, and we extended the rear deck on both of the 720 and the 770 here by 30 centimeters. So the overall size of the 720, when you have that extension option, and no one's opted not to have that yet, but you can not have it if you don't want to, is 7.5 meters. So what I'm getting at is if individual customers, like our boats, the 720 for example, is about $5,000 or $6,000 dearer than the standard factory one. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We've done a lot of work, changed a lot of things on it, but also gone to a lot of expense in getting our own CE certification done on all of our vessels. So for example, we need to have paid for the engineer's drawings to get redone, submit those drawings and technical data to the European office. Once we get that approved, we then have to get an inspector to come view our hulls whilst they're in production at the factory to get the final certificate issued. And we've done that with every one of our models. So unfortunately, I don't mean to scare anyone, but if you've bought a boat and you've done all these modifications and you get T-boned in an intersection by a stolen car, something completely not your fault, and an insurance company looks at your original certificate, you're not going to match up. Your fuselage is going to be too small. If you've got a 300 horsepower on it, well, the certificate's only to 250. The overall size of the boat is now 7.5. It doesn't marry up to the certificate. So we go through all that. We do it, dot our I's, cross our T's, and do all of that stuff. And it costs a lot of money. So getting back to the 770, this was designed by my son and I due to the fact that the factory models that were available at the stage were a 720, or what the factory referred to as a 685, and the 790, which the factory referred to as a 7.5. We found that the 790, the larger vessel, didn't have the space where we wanted it for us. All the extra space on the larger vessel was all in the helm cabin, which is great for certain applications, especially overnighting. Allowed you to have a rear enclosed deck on it. So we had customers that down south that wanted to escape the cold. It also allowed you to have a dinette table on the port side and a little kitchenette on the starboard side. For us, we didn't want that. Essentially, the shape of the boat, the front cabin, was exactly the same as the 720, so there wasn't any extra space in the front cabin. And from the rear of the helm bulkhead to the transom on the 790 is again exactly the same as the 720. There was no extra space where we wanted it. So we decided to put the extra space where we wanted it, and to also take out the beam pursuant to the extra link, so everything matched up. So we took the beam out, and that gave us so much more space inside, and we added the extra space to the back deck. So that's how things started. And obviously we made a few changes, and then we had our CE certification done. And once all that was approved, we then put the boat up for sale and started taking orders last year. Now that was nearly a 2-year process to do. So back to the 770, let's come to the front of the boat. As you can see, by taking out the beam and increasing a little bit, it's increased the boat substantially. This boat is nearly 400 or 500 kilos heavier than a 720, so it's right up there. Depending on the build and whether you add cabin doors, lockable cabin doors and things like that, they can be between 2 and 2.1 ton just before you put anything on it. So again, for those people that are new to the channel, we don't do any wiring or anything like that at the factory anymore, other than just some basic navigation lights and some cabin LED lights. We have our own Seaking customized control panel. We get that wired back to by the factory, and that's it. So starting at the front on our 720, 790 and 770 designs. For the 770, it sounds like it might be smaller than the 790. It's not. It's actually 8.2 meters overall. So this is the one we've kind of superseded the 790 with. We started with the anchor well design. In the very beginning, we were using vertical windlasses. They were jamming up the ropes. We were not getting the anchors up, especially when they're caught in at the reef. So we redesigned the anchor well to accommodate the larger Australian SAV winch. So SAV winch, Australian company, based in Melbourne, opening up new factories in Queensland and WA now, I believe, do the whole kit. So they do the drum winches, the bowsprits, and also the anchors. Every drum winch in every size range comes in 3 different versions. So we go with the 1500 size. 1000 is a little bit too small for this boat. And we go with the 2000 size for the 8.8 meter that we're releasing next year. But for this boat and the 720, the 1500 is more than adequate. So in the 1500, you have the classic, which is the standard model. And then you have the next one up from that is the SS, stainless steel. Same as the classic, but with a stainless steel outer casing on the motor. Then the top of the range one, the Triple S, has a stainless steel outer casing as well as a full stainless steel gearbox. And because they're so confident with that build, that model, the Triple S version comes with a 7-year warranty. So they really stand behind their product. When you're heading out into the reef, a lot of people have the old hook anchors. I believe that they cause too much damage to the environment. The old hook reef anchors drag a lot and ruin the reef. The problem with the plow anchors is they're almost impossible to get up when they get caught in a bommy, but if it's sand, gravel, it's going to dig you in where a hook anchor won't. So the combination of having the plow anchor but with that slide, the gap that goes down the arm, is essential. So the idea is if you come up to a vertical point where you're retrieving your anchor and it's really jammed in there, and it happens a lot, especially in bommies, you can release some anchor rope out and then drive straight over top of your anchor, and then that takes the knuckle where the anchor joins right up to the front, and it pulls the nose of that out. So since having this system, we've had no issue retrieving an anchor. Maybe it's taken 3 or 4 attempts in some really sticky situations, but we do a lot of night fishing, and it was always the most dangerous part, was trying to retrieve the anchor when we had the old vertical windlasses. Ethan was always having to be up the front, assisting the anchor, getting rid of the knots, and it made the whole experience quite bad. Pairing it up, when you're looking at the 770s and you've got the big 10 kilo stainless steel slide anchor, you can also have a galvanized one that's about half the price from SAV winch as well. But we recommend pairing it up with the stainless steel signature long bowsprit, because as you can see, it's a perfect fit for that anchor. The smaller boats you can get away with just the standard bowsprit, but having that whole kit there I think is essential. So starting at the front of the boat, Another design change that we've done with the help of Michael Norman's son Jake, who was a naval architect when we were designing his boat, is come up with this new design for the trolling motor. Previously, if you wanted to have the extended height bow rails, which is a great feature, especially on a bigger boat like this, you get the use of the bow, you can do casting and flicking in the shallows. We could not have a trolling motor mount with extended bow rails, because basically the bow rails finished here and then recommence there. So to have that sort of height, it wasn't strong enough to support the extra height, extra level. So what we've done is increase the tubing thickness of the bow rails to 400mm and repositioned and designed where each leg comes down, and that's enabled us to have a bow rail design that still has the extended bow rails but has the brake. In this boat here, Kyle and Lauren Palmer's boat, we have the auto deploy Minn Kota. So with the auto deploy, that top section has to be cut. If you have a manual deploy or a Garmin, then you can keep that adjoining rail up the top there. So again, a lot of work's gone into that. We then had to shorten where the bow rails finished because we wanted to design a proper ladder that aesthetically fits in with the boat, not just an attachment that looks like it's just added later. So the other option is to have 2 steps, but we just found, especially with the wives, the girlfriends, whatever, it's a big step because of the gap of the glass there between the top step and the bottom step. So we've redesigned that ladder, and it's an option if you want to add that to any boat. So again, a lot of thought's gone into that. It might seem small, but it's actually quite significant. The bow design has also been changed. Prior to doing this design change, the bow came about 30 centimeters under the windscreen. So what we wanted to do is increase the cabin height inside, but we didn't want to have a bow that was quite steep because we like to be able to lay up there and use it as a leisure sort of area. So we've stepped up so we could decrease that angle. So that gives us more cabin room inside, and that's a feature that stays with us. It's not allowed to be copied on a 720, 770 or any of our boats. Another design that again can't be copied is the increased baffle or sun visor. So for us in the east coast of Australia, coming home after day trips, late in the afternoon, the sun is low, I found that I was driving the boat like that and I got more sunburnt in that hour coming home than what I did the whole day. So we've taken that baffle out as far as we can go, gives us more sun protection during the day as well, and makes for a more pleasant experience driving home. So a small thing, but again significant. For those who don't know, the hulls are 6mm 5083 marine grade plate alloy. So again, in our factory walkthrough videos, we show all the marine grade plate that's stamped and certified before it goes into laser cutting. So there's no cutting corners, it's all top quality material. Our hulls have a double reverse chine design, and again, plenty of videos to show that off. I'll show it to you from the back as well. But in a heading sea and a following sea, the boat is a pleasure to drive. So very heavy boat. You can see how high the sides are and all the way down. So when you're standing in the boat from the back, it's almost impossible to wet your hands in the water. It's they're a substantial vessel, that's for sure. This current boat is sitting on our 800C trailer, C being for custom checker plate. So our 800A is the cheaper option. It's exactly the same trailer, just doesn't have, same frame, just doesn't have all the checker plate running down. So the checker plate not only looks good, it has a safety feature as well, especially, and a handy feature. If you're not experienced in getting and retrieving your boat, or you're in very windy and tidal conditions, it allows the person on the beach to walk down the side. And I call it a safety feature too, because we come back a lot at night and we got crocs up here. So being up on top of the water, not in the water, to help get the boat on is a good feature. We rate all of our trailers for the 770 now to 4.5 tonne. The builds can come under 3.5 tonne if you're doing, the basic trailer and say a 300 horsepower motor. But because we've got such a large fuel tank, nearly 500 litres, and a fresh water tank, once all that's filled up, it's going to go over 3.5 tonne. So to save the ambiguity, we just build all of the trailers for this boat as 4.5 tonne. So as you can see, we run the Alco IQ7, dual axle, dual braked torsion axles, and the axles are rated to 2.5 tonne each, so they're very solid. We have the 70mm tow ball, but if a customer is happy that their build has come under 3.5 tonne, we can quite easily swap that out for a 50mm coupler. The perfect height for this trailer, because we have the oversized 235 wheels as standard on this trailer, so a bit bigger. The best height from the ground to the top of the tongue is about 58 centimeters, maybe 63 if you've got a bit of sponge in your back of your car. That keeps the trailer nice and level, and it keeps the tow ball weight where it should be. Pet hate of mine is seeing boats with that down degree on the arm, and then that's going to push all your fuel, all your water to the front, increase your tow ball weight, and you're going to feel it pushing every time you hit a bump. The other no-no is having that too high, and then every time you hit a bump, the coupler is going to want to pop off, and you can feel it when you're driving it. So it's important to get the tow ball height right. I just bought this online. I think it was only about $500. It has a reversible 50 and 70 mil tow ball, so depending on what boat I'm taking, it's just a key, take it out, flip it over, and I can also adjust the height pursuant to the boats that I'm taking. So a good little feature. To run the Alco IQ7, you do need an Anderson plug and a 7-pin flat. Preferable also to have electric brakes fitted to the vehicle, so you can increase the intensity of your brakes. So around town you don't have the brakes up so high. On the highway you can turn them up a bit heavier. If your car doesn't have electric brakes fitted, we can fit an electric brake controller onto the side of here, and it's good for people that are buying boats within a family and there's going to be many different towing vehicles using the boat, because with that controller you can tow it with any vehicle without having electric brakes fitted to the car. You just control it with your app on your phone, the intensity of your brakes. So good little tip. Okay, the custom trailer again comes standard as it's our top of the range with the big matching checker plate spare wheel holder and spare wheel. This particular boat has the boat catch fitted too, which we'll demonstrate. Very, very handy. All stainless steel components, keel roller, side bunks. Comes complete with the Alco IQ7, the V-entry skids, and the larger wheels. So the 800A, those things are optional. So moving along with some features of this boat is the side access door. All the boats that I build, I now include this as standard with my boats. I think it's about $500 US as a factory option to add. When we first started doing it, it needed a little bit of refinement. We've now got thicker rubbers and everything in there, and I've actually also made these wide enough for wheelchair access. So they have a lot of good features. As I said before, you can see how high the sides are on this boat. So for me, trying to load this boat up by myself is near impossible. I'm trying to imagine lifting an esky up onto there and then coming home, an esky full of fish. No, I'm too old, not strong enough to be able to do it. So from a practical point of view, very easy for me to load things in, straight in. But not only that, it's getting older in-laws and kids on and off the boat at the dock. They just step straight onto the boat. Landing big fish, great. And then obviously just swimming and natural recreation use of the boat when you're anchored up, having the ability to have that. So I think that's a great option, especially now with the thicker rubbers and a much tighter gripping locking handle. It used to just have a latch and would occasionally swing open. So that's a good feature to have. The back of the boat, as I mentioned before, the extended rear platform, a feature that cannot be copied, and there's a reason for that. It's also protecting the individual buyers, because changing and modifying the hull like that and not doing the proper certification, you could get yourself in trouble with insurance. One thing we have allowed the factory to copy is the extended height. Previously the railings came down to here, and I've mentioned in the past my wife almost lost Ethan off the back because these big motors are very, very touchy. So we've increased the height of the railing, and we've also put spring-loaded vertical latches rather than the old horizontal ones. At night time, after a few beers, having a wee off the back, it looks like it's locked, and you're looking at all the squid and everything coming around for your underwater lights, and you end up there with them. So no longer. New design too, we're trying to take out this raised support here. I just noticed last time when we were over at Maggie Island, my mother-in-law, who didn't want to get in the water but still wanted to be with us while we're having a swim, had to sort of sit in this little gap and was a little bit uncomfortable to get her feet wet and everything. So we're going to make that flush in future builds. Just again, another little change. Now I spoke about the double reverse chine feature. Well, as you can see from the back, it actually fans out like a wing. So I've been asked why our boats don't have a flooding keel like some, which allows about 300 litres of water or 300 kilos into the boat to make it a bit heavier and a bit more stable at rest. Well, to start with, our smaller 720 is about 400 kilos heavier than a larger boat in another brand, mainly due to the high sides. so we don't need the extra weight. And that double reverse chine keeps the boat stable at rest, so it's just not required. This boat here, we've added extra underwater lights as a request. And another little thing, and I'm happy for Gospel sales staff to share, is they always fit the underwater lights vertically. They don't do much, so just changing it to fit them horizontally sprays out a much more light at night time. Standard with the 800C trail also is the stainless steel boat buckles, so clip, ratchet on. You're not playing around with ratchet straps trying to get your boat on, especially in summer here. The boat ramps are really hot. This boat's fitted with the Zipwake 300, so when we know a boat is going to be intended to be fit with Zipwakes, we also mount a matching transom bracket on the back, so it makes you're not having to spend $1,200–1,500 getting a mounting bracket put on later. So just makes installation of the Zipwake simple and easy, and you're not bolting holes through your actual hull. If the customer wants to do the new Seakeeper ride, which we're putting on our next demo, which we pick up this week, then that is then kept all flush, nothing there at all, again to make the installation costs lower when we get the boats here to Australia. Okay, the big Mercury 400 horsepower V10 Verado 5.7 litre naturally aspirated motor. It's a mouthful, it's huge. These hulls are rated from 300 horsepower to 400, and we've also gone with the maximum rating. Mercury have just brought out a 425 version, which is about the same weight, but again, me being a bit fastidious, I'm reluctant to upgrade to that because we've already had our certification to a 400 horsepower maximum. And although it goes on weight, you know, and the 425 is about the same weight, so it's not going to affect anything. I just don't want any reason for an insurance company to deny a major claim, so I'm just going to stick with the 400s. It's plenty. We use the 20 pitch 4-blade Revolution prop there. Massive prop, but this motor just spins it with ease. We can be fully loaded with 6 blokes, gear, going out fishing, all beer and everything like that, or we can just have a couple of us on there and you really don't notice the difference. It's plenty of power. So we'll do some prop testing in the river here today, and we'll do that on a separate video. Also, another little thing that we've done is we've built up the transom to a 30-inch leg. So what that's allowed us to do is have a very flat deck at the back. On my old demo was a 25-inch leg, so it had the well in front. So once the motor's down trim, it gives you a lot more space to store things like eskies, especially your bait eskies and things like that can all sit down the back out of the way, and just basically more storage. Easy to get from one side to the other when you're fighting the big fish as well. Okay, in this boat we have 2 transducers, and we've done that a few times now. So we've got the 1 kilowatt AMR transducer transom mounted over there. Another thing to note, a small change, we relocated the deck wash in our build, the intake. Because aluminium hulls, any little distortion is going to affect your reading. So the deck wash has a little round weld, obviously, where the hole comes out, and it was interfering with our reading. So we've relocated it to a spot that we'll just keep to ourselves. But now we get a perfect reading at speed on that side. Palmer's boat also has the underhull 3-in-1 transducer there. We've also done through-hull transducers as well. So plenty of options for your sounders. Let's jump in the boat. So it may be hard to see on a video, but the extra beam on this boat is fantastic. The 720, you can fish 4, one inside, one outside on both sides, but the 770 is so easy to fit 6. One of the designs we changed early on is a twin walk-through transom design, so we have access to the back from both sides, and I've allowed that design to be shared to individual Gospel boat owners as well. A new feature that we've done also is slide-in transom doors. So good if you're travelling with children or pets, we can slide in the door to prevent access to the back whilst underway. One of the earlier design changes we made also is to add 2 gunnel shelves. So we added the lower one in there. So essentially that lower one can act as a tow hole when you're fishing. It's really only if you don't have sea deck on your boat and you have a wet metal surface that you're fighting fish, you want that tow hole. Be fine with the sea deck. You're not short of grip. So, but it does provide extra storage as well. Added sea deck to the side, and as standard on the 770, it's an option on the 720. We've added sea deck into the storage. It just prevents things rattling around. I'm a bit fussy when it comes to noise, extra noise in the boat. I like to be able to just have everything not rattling, no sinkers left in there which can can stain, or bottle tops. If you miss one, you know, it sits on the paint and stains it. So a little bit of thought's gone into that. We have the saltwater deck wash with the new intake position, and then we have our fresh water, which we have a 120 litre freshwater tank at the back there. We have changed this design here. So previously this was a live bait tank that started and finished about there, wasted a bit of space. So we have taken it right out to give us a bigger filleting area and place to put a barbecue, and essentially ran a lip and some higher sides to protect from the wind a little bit when you are cooking out here. And we swapped out the bait tank, the big bait tank there, with the shelf. So we can have this one big drawer, or we can have two drawers. So I find this is excellent. I can put all of my tackle in separate plastic cases, so one with sinkers, one with hooks and swivels, one with lures, all stacked in there nicely, and plenty of room over here for some cooking equipment and cutlery and things like that as well. We still have a secondary live bait tank down here, which when we're doing family trips, we use it as a bin. When we're doing fishing trips, we generally just use that as a bleeding area for our fish. So gill the fish, put their heads in there, and let them bleed out. With my boat, it's designed more with fishing in mind. We have that big cavity, one big sort of passenger bench. So my idea for our application was being able to put that big esky out of the way, so we're always keeping this big deck space clear. And of course, of a night time with the 720, you don't have the space to put a big esky like that anywhere. So it kind of interferes when you're doing overnight, it's, you know, straddling over an esky all the time. So my design on the 770 has that in mind. So we just keep this deck space. We can keep the esky out during the day for fishing if we like to, but then during the evening, where we want to make this a relaxing area, cook some food, cook some nice fish, everything's away, and it is as you see it here. So moving on, we have the inspection hatch also added, so it helps a lot less costly if you need to do any service or repairs or inspections, maintenance of the fuel 5-10 years down the track. We now have an inspection hatch added, so another little thing. The fold down seat now has a cushion, but we're just actually designing it so it has the cushion built in future builds as well. So the battery compartment on this boat is quite large, the 770. So it's up out of the weather. And as a standard, we have all of our fit out done at Brisbane Marine. Even if the boat is going to have a different brand on it, we use Brisbane Marine to do all of the wiring electronics, because it's one team that's been doing all of our boats and they've just got it down pat. So we pay a little bit extra for our standard fit out with Brisbane Marine. So we have the BEP battery cluster, all the circuit breakers all installed down here. And the standard fit out has two usual batteries, one house, one cranking. You can, as an optional extra, fit a third house battery in there. This is an upgraded fit out, so the Palmer's build. So we've replaced the second battery with a 200 amp hour Victra lithium battery. So a lot more capacity for your house battery. This also has all upgraded Victron electronics. So we have, because of the 400 horsepower, it has a 100 amp alternator output. The 300 has 60. So because we've got so much output, we can actually run 3 wiring harnesses from the motor to the batteries. One lithium charger for the lithium battery, one DC to DC for the cranking battery. And we've also on this boat got the solar management system as well. We ended up not putting solar panels on the roof. It just sort of ruined the aesthetics and the use of it as a sunroof. So what we've ended up doing is running the solar management system and putting an Anderson plug into the radar mount and put a cover over it. So whenever they want to use a solar, they can either have a simple roll-out solar blanket or the bigger solar panels that fold out and pack back up into the size of a suitcase, but still provide about 260 amp hours. But because this motor is so big and every time you turn it on it's running charged, all 3 batteries, I don't think the solar is going to really be an issue to have to use it, but it's there. This boat's going to Karratha, it's quite remote, so Kyle's very conscious he wants that battery management system. So he actually has the LCD screen, which we'll show you later, which shows each battery labelled, when you touch on it, what amps coming in, what amps being used, and the current status of the boat, of the battery. So when we took him out to the reef, I don't think the trolling motor battery dropped below 95%. Because we were moving quite regularly, it just banged straight back up to 98, 99%. And obviously on the trip home, everything's back up to 100%. So you can set your alarms on those too. So if you're sleeping and doing overnight trips it'll set an alarm that your house battery's reached a certain limit. So it's just a bit of a peace of mind thing. But this whole system here, complete with the adapter for the solar and the solar management system, the LCD screen showing everything, is an optional extra to add to the fit out of this boat now. So we've put that on our build sheet. Okay, a small feature but a handy one, happy for gospel staff to sell and include, is just having the handrails all the way through the middle of the boat from front to back. I think the standard model has them on the outside here. It's just good underway, being able to walk all the way to the front and the back. The thing I'll mention too, this is a exclusive feature for our boats, the 720 and the 770. The extra support arms allow us to have a roof weight rating of up to 400 kilos. So that's exclusive to us because we've done that testing. So again, if you're buying a boat and you're going to use the roof as a sunroof, just be careful. You won't have that weight rating, and if you bend it, you're not going to be covered by warranty. Okay, this boat also fully carpeted, found it's great. Just good maintenance. I'm not having to wipe everything down with inox after every trip. Everything's protected. Kyle's put a huge entertainment system in this with the Fusion 4 speakers, sports speakers with lights, LED controls, remote control, amplifier. It's amazing. His layout is a bit different to mine, but this is what I'm going to include as a standard layout to choose from. So I call this a family-friendly layout. So we don't have the return like we do on mine, the double seat, because we had to make this box a bit bigger. So that way we can house this huge fridge freezer from Dometic. We can actually go another size up, looking at the size space we've got. So heaps of room for overnighting trips, fridge and freezer, or two fridges basically. The helm seat can sit vertically as well, or crossed as well, so you can basically fit 3 at the dinette table. We finished it off with a solid wooden table insert just to give it a nice aesthetic. But you can see here, I'll take that away and store it. The design here with this boat is to essentially have a very versatile seating arrangement. So whilst underway, passenger can be seated forward, so can this passenger, facing together to eat dinner, have a break, share a meal, and then obviously for fishing, spin that one around. Now not only that, we can get away with that piece there and drop the table down, lock it into place, and add the bench, and you've got another bunk. One thing I'm doing with them new builds as well is just adding 2 holes here, so this piece can be used and actually stick in there and act to extend that bunk either that way or that way if you want to put your head up this end. Not load bearing, but just basically a footrest. So a very versatile design, and that same design can be basically copied. So this design can't have a front cabin door because it needs to be open, so when you're sitting forward you put your feet down there. Also fitted with the toilet, carpeted cabin, and you can see here this is our Victron house management system. So we've got our engine, house, trolling motor. You can click on it, tells you all the status, all the information you need to know. Simrad electronics, we have an adjustable steering wheel, and we've also added obviously our control box here, so we can have a binnacle mount throttle, not a lever throttle. This is our custom Seaking switch panel, so essentially you can turn all the lights off with one press, zip weight controller, sab winch, everything ready to go. So as you can see from up here, you can see our rain channel that runs the whole side. All of our Mako lights, everything's all fitted here again. Nothing's done over at the factory, so we generally run the good quality Mako searchlights on the front and side as an option. Just some final things that we've done, just to rattle them off. The toilet plumbing, the intake, the outtake, we've changed the position of that in the bow, so definite reason for that. Obviously the seat can swivel around so it comes around to the back. We've added these water deflectors on the side, so any bow water, rainwater, generally comes and it drips in here, so it's not an issue during the day, but of a night time when you're possibly having someone sleep out here, you want this all dry, so that deflects the water off nicely. Also added a rain channel along the top of both sides with the drain out the back. That's about it, I think. Oh, the hatches, we've moved them as far forward as we can, so when those hatches are open, they're absolutely dumping air on you when you're sitting in the helm seat. Obviously the hydraulic lift out window at the front as well. So that covers a fair few of our features on this boat. So I think I've just about covered everything, and let's get it into the water. So you'll see up here on our bow, the extended bow rails makes for a nice safe enclosure. So when we're in the shallows having lunch, cooking up a feed out on the reef, it's a great spot to sit and have a flick, cast for some coral trout using some lures. Got rod holders up here already, and you'll see by incrementing the height up here of the bow, it's not much of an angle at all, so it's also a nice spot to have a lay down. Auto deploy Minn Kota, so easy to use. Just press the button, and here we go. It's almost cheating, isn't it? And from here I can move the boat left, right, get right on the spot that I want to get on. No more having to find drift lines and doing the anchor. It's real easy. And to bring it up, just press the button again. And just like magic. So while I'm up here, you'll see we've added the Seaking night vision camera to the front. We're doing the same on our demo boat. We go out in the afternoon a lot and like to come back at night, and recently a lot of whales in the water. Even last year we had a submerged container drifting down the coast which a boat ran into and ripped a hole. So all those things go through your mind when you're coming back with your son and your nephews and mates and whatever in the middle of the night. So Seaking's night vision camera integrated with the sounder, it's a must for me. Obviously the radar mount, and we've also got the Anderson plug to lay out the solar blankets. So show you the front. The ladder now makes it so easy to get up, to take that leap of faith. 25 centimetre height railing around the top, exclusive design for us because our roof is weight rated to take the weight. And that's about it. We'll get this boat in before I run into the side of the bank. See you next time. Let's pop it in reverse, Heath.